Movies based on video games are pretty popular nowadays. They finally hit a stride. Like, we got the Mario movies, we got the Sonic movies, we got 2 new Mortal Kombat movies, an upcoming Street Fighter movie, and that's not even factoring in TV shows like Fallout or Twisted Metal. It's an interesting enough medium, and it's scary how long it took for them to get it right to the point where it's like generally people enjoy these adaptations. I think I kind of attribute that to like the video game generation finally having enough tenure in Hollywood to get positions to create these movies. Something like the Mario movie, for example, like that was older people working on it. They didn't understand video games. They understood why it was popular to a degree, but they didn't know how to translate that. On the topic of the Mario movie, that was the first ever video game adaptation movie, and it is a video I actually did a few years ago. It's probably one of my favorite earlier videos. The point is, while it was a cool movie and an interesting spin on Mario, it was pretty far removed from the actual idea of Mario, which at the time, while limited by its graphical capability, did have a world and a lore to pull from. And they did pull from it, but in like the most bizarre and weird way possible. I enjoyed the movie when I was a kid, and I can actually respect what they did with it and like how the movie was made and everything, but let's be real, it was pretty poor as an adaptation. Mario broke the ground for the concept of adapting video games into movies, and while it wasn't a success commercially or critically, studios did see a potential in the genre, and they decided to take a shot at finding a video game property that was popular and turning it into a movie, because, you know, why not? Even if one of these movies didn't do well in the theater, there was merchandise, and then somebody was gonna rent it. And after Mario, there are 3 very noteworthy movies that came from that early to mid-90s era. That's Double Dragon, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat. When it comes to picking a video game property to adapt, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are probably the best choices, especially back then, because they were 2 of the most popular games in that era. Now, Double Dragon, on the other hand, like, I'm young, Double Dragon was a hit back in its day, but I think by the mid-90s, the stock had declined. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, a kid who was born in 91, like, I think Double Dragon was good for the era, but the concept of the beat-em-up was not perfected with it. When I think of beat-em-up games, like, I think of, like, Final Fight, Streets of Rage, or like the Konami licensed beat-em-ups like X-Men or The Simpsons. And I know Double Dragon is the codifier for the genre, and in its day it was popular, but I don't even recall ever seeing a Double Dragon machine like anywhere. Not in the arcade, not at a corner store, not even at a fucking pizza place. To me, Double Dragon was just this NES game my older cousin hyped up, and I played it for like 10 minutes and then decided to just go back to Mario 3. And don't get me wrong, like I'm sure it did have its popularity. They kept making the Double Dragon games, but like I really didn't know anybody in my age range who like fucked with it that way. There's nobody who's like, oh man, like Double Dragon, like it's no. But I guess maybe like the slightly older generation might have still had some attachment to it, so they saw fit to make a movie out of it. And yeah, I can see it. It's a simple enough premise. Some street punks punch a girl in the stomach and carry her away, and 2 martial artists have to rescue her by beating up a bunch of street punks. Not a whole lot of lore, lots of things to work with. Could be a classic martial arts style action movie or something, or it could basically be an action movie set in a satire-filled dystopia because, hey, RoboCop was still fresh in people's minds. Now, I don't know what it was like when this was in theaters. Again, I was 3 years old, but I do remember seeing this movie on, like, TV a couple times, and I'd usually, like, catch it partway through and lose interest in it on, like, a Saturday afternoon. Didn't really resonate with me because, like, I knew what Double Dragon was, but it wasn't something like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter where, like, I would just immediately be hooked because of the name. And I often see this cited as being this like horribly bad movie and this bad adaptation, but it's not like legendary bad where it gets brought up. It's not like Mario where there are people that do boost the movie. It's not like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat where there's a fair amount of people who actually think those are really good movies. Double Dragon is pretty in the rear view because, like I said, the property associated with it was not nearly as big as something like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat at the time. I kind of remember seeing the poster around. Like I said, I remember seeing it on TV, and one of my inspirations, the Nostalgia Critic, did review it, which is the only reason I ever even really remembered this movie existed. It's fascinating to me that this movie has a reputation for being bad, but like not that bad, because like barely, people really don't bring it up unless it's like a fucking crack.com article or something. It's so unremarkable in its poorness that like 32 years later you hardly hear anybody talking about this movie. Not like the Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat Kombat or the Street Fighter movie or the Mario movie. It just kind of exists as something that came out in theaters once, and then nobody really talked about it, and it's just kind of there. Like, it gets brought up from time to time, but it's never really created like a big cult audience like the Street Fighter movie did. It doesn't have this whole like stigma around it being a good movie like the Mortal Kombat movie does, and it's just unremarkable, I guess. Based on its reputation, it's unremarkable. But you know what? I'm gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna watch it start to finish for the first time, and you know, let's see how this is. I want to see why this is so bad. So it's like really kind of a loose adaptation, because like it takes the name Double Dragon and turns that into a sort of plot point with some powerful mythical artifact. And it has Robert Patrick as the villain, so that's probably gonna be good. And I did get kind of a cheap laugh. Like, they're narrating the opening where like, you know, the chick's taking the medallion from this like ancient Asian village where it's apparently somewhere in China. And then it just cuts to him giving a villain speech to his underlings. Like, I don't know, because it comes off sounding like whimsical and like, oh, you know, maybe there's like a protagonistic figure saying this. No, it's the bad guy just like talking about it, giving like the exposition.
King knew that together his sons would emerge triumphant and return peace to the land. After their victory, princes hid the medallions to prevent them from ever being used for evil.
And I was like, foundationally, they do have the concept right. He looks like a final boss type character, but he has that blend of like scummy, satirical, like dystopian movie, 90s movie character there. His henchmen look like henchmen. Like, they look like enemies you would fight in a beat 'em up game, and the chick is actually based on one of the recurring enemies from the game. The two Asian guys are original, but they match the phenotype of beat 'em up mid-boss type character. Like, fundamentally, on a fundamental level, this does kind of work, at least presentation-wise. The Lee brothers, Bimmy and Jimmy, Billy and Jimmy, are played by Scott Wolf and Mark Dacascos. And we're introduced to them in some tag team karate tournament. We really do get the lay of their characters relatively fast. Billy is the less serious one, Jimmy is the straight one. Billy gets them disqualified from the tournament, which irritates Jimmy, and, you know, it's a nice dynamic. These two work well together, and I'm going to be bringing this up a few times throughout the review. I have absolutely no issue with these two actors. It's very clear when they were casting, they're like, okay, we need like a teen actor who's, you know, kind of popular, and then they need a martial arts guy. Dacascos is a martial artist. He's been in a few things. He was in Mortal Kombat Legacy as Kung Lao, and he's been in a bunch of martial arts movies. He's in that Tales from the Crypt episode, the MMA one. The two have a solid chemistry on screen, and they're also accompanied by Satori, who is played by the hot Asian chick from Rambo 2 that was also in that Paradise episode of Deep Space Nine and one of the Amityville sequels. In a way, she acts as their guardian or mother figure. Now, the dystopian world for this movie is New Angeles in the year 2007. It's New Angeles because, well, an earthquake destroyed California, as was popular amongst many movies to portray at the time. It's such a shithole that there's a curfew and gangs roam the streets. It's sort of like an Escape from New York, the Warriors RoboCop type future, which of course was the style at the time. But for some reason, Vanna White, George Hamilton, and Andy Dick work for the news, which I don't get what this is who this is for.
And once again, Madonna's in the news. She held a press conference in Old York today where she said her marriage to Tom Arnold is finished and she's moving to Paris. The ex-pop superstar said simply, she wants to be alone.
Now, this movie really does pack in the action scenes because, like, we open with an action scene, we get another action scene, and then, like, the Lee brothers are out after the curfew and they run afoul the Mohawks, one of the many roving street gangs in the city, and we have, like, a homophobic / transphobic joke, which was, of course, the style at the time, but then a chase ensues. And it's not a bad chase. Like, a lot of this does remind me of the Mario movie, the way the vehicles look and how they work on alternative technology. Like, the car is fueled by burning trash, which is definitely an interesting take. Like, you know, the city's full of smog, so it kind of explains that people are just burning garbage to fuel their cars.
You never burn trash. Okay, can you say that? I never burn trash.
I never burn trash.
Yes.
What about garbage?
Motherfucker.
And the leader of the Mohawks is Boa Bobo, who of course is one of the iconic boss characters from the game. There's that like weird era in the like late 80s and especially the early to mid 90s where futuristic movies with like alternative technology was just like so obsessed with showing stuff happening to show how this technology works. For example, the truck that Boa Bobo is driving has the window blocked by a map, so there's this like super intricate sophisticated system that uses like satellite tracking and imaging to project a 3D model of the street so they can see the car and like still drive while the windshield's covered. Now I don't like doing this, but really like this is one of the best points that the Nostalgia Critic made when he reviewed this movie, so like really I'm just gonna play the clip.
That's a really clever idea, guys, really top notch. But did you ever consider the possibility of maybe just simply removing the map with your fucking hand?
Like, I get it, you have a budget, you need to do cool sci-fi shit with alternative technology, but it's pretty fucking dumb, and then like, a few seconds later, the map just kind of blows off on its own anyway. Now, we don't have the iconic scene of the girl getting punched in the stomach and carried off, but the character is in the movie. Marion in this movie is reworked to be more of a heroic character, likely because they got Alyssa Milano, who was a rising star at this point. She is the leader of a gang called Power Corps, but they're heroic, and they fight against the other gangs in the street because the police won't come out at night. And then the added twist here is that Marion's father is the chief of police or something. It's made pretty clear that Robert Patrick wants the Double Dragon so he can take over the world, of course.
Oh no! He's gonna blast President Lincoln!
Ha! I knew you'd risk yourself for Mr. Lincoln.
And that Satori has one half, he has the other, and eventually they get tracked down to the movie theater, which leads to probably my favorite scene in the movie, like action-wise. Billy, Jimmy, and Satori live in a bombed-out movie theater where they practice martial arts all day, and Robert Patrick and his goons attack them. And to get the other half of the Double Dragon, you know, they go after Satori, but Billy just happens to have it. And they know where they are because of the Boa Bobo chase. It's all this dumb shit, whatever. But the action scene is like a fun little set-piece-based action scene with a lot of climbing, throwing shit at each other, and so forth. Oh, and they rip off the Devo chamber from the Mario movie and put Boa Bobo in it and turn him into a giant freak. Which is kind of dumb that they wanted to make him look like the freak from the video games, because, like, if they were going for a more grounded thing, the guy they got to play the first Boa Bobo, he's like a jacked up dude. Like, they could have just had him be a henchman, but whatever. There's a reason they did this, and it's kind of dumb.
Moby Dick over there is Boa Bobo, steroid freak.
Standard first act, you know, Satori sacrifices herself so the brothers can get away with the medallion, and there's like a personal twist now to the story. We get some more exploration of old Detroit or New Angeles or Dino Hatton or whatever this place is called. And at this point, you know, first act in, I'm thinking like, you know, why are people thinking this is so bad? It's not great, it's not like a great movie, but I never got the urge to shut it off. It's keeping me engaged, it's been fun so far. Nothing spectacular, but I'm being entertained enough by this movie. And I still think it's really funny how a lot of like 80s and 90s like science fiction stuff kinda does get it right with predicting stuff, because Alyssa Milano's kid brother, who is also actually Alyssa Milano's kid brother, is just on a VR headset. This is a good prediction by the writers. It's not too far off from VR today. He's even doing a roller coaster simulator. Although I can't help but think of the virtual reality stunt master when I look at that thing. I'm pretty sure that is a virtual reality stunt master.
This thing sucks! It clamps to your fucking shirt!
All the little technical things are neat, like the whole thing where New Angeles is so polluted people have to use like oxygen booths, and they have these big fans that blow smog away. They got creative. It's a creative take on the dystopia. Smog punk, there. And I also can't help but think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie here with all the kids around like the gang leader, and then, you know, Michael Berryman's here as a gang leader, but, you know, he gets killed. So hi Michael Berryman, bye Michael Berryman. I'm very unlikely to ever review a Hills Have Eyes movie, so this is probably the only time you'll ever see Michael Berryman on my channel. Nothing against him, he's just not in anything I really like. There's not really much in the way of a plot, like stuff is happening, the plot, quote unquote, is moving forward, and it does have some character development. I am wholeheartedly enjoying the dynamic between Scott Wolf and Mark Dacascos. Like, it's not great, it's solid, but I never feel like they aren't invested in the movie, and I never feel like they're doing a bad job of doing the movie. Just watching them go around on this adventure does kind of feel like Double Dragon. They're just going through the motions, they're going through every stage. Watching this makes me kind of sad that we once had a point where they would build sets for movies, or they would scout out locations to shoot these movies, and now they just do everything on a soundstage. We used to create things for film, now we just kind of generate things. Junkyard fight scene's pretty good. It's chaotic, there's gangs everywhere, and I got a few laughs out of it. And while it's clear Dacascos was doing the heavy lifting with the fight choreography, they hit it well enough. Scott Wolf gets his moments, but it's all Dacascos doing a lot of the action. For some reason, a mailman just does like a suicide dive off of like a 40-foot tower. There's something about like the fact that he went for both of those puns in that short time frame. Like you could have gone with special delivery or airmail, and like either one would have gotten the point across. You decided to overplay the part and you went for both. Like, pick fucking one. You know, a lot of people talk about, like, AI writing, and I know AI wasn't a thing when this movie was made, but, like, the fact that you have the splatterpunks, the baseball furies, and a modicum of gangs that look like gangs from other dystopian movies really makes me think, like, did they just, like, put, like, this through an AI? Was AI around in the 90s? They're just taking, like, familiar-looking concepts from other, like, dystopian movies and putting it into this. Which, like, I'm kind of complaining about, but then when I really think about how beat-em-up games work, it's like, yeah, they kind of just do that in beat-em-up games too, so I guess, you know what, this gets a pass. I do like the little dystopian touch that the water is so polluted that it's literally flammable, which comes into play during the boat chase, which, it's a pretty solid boat chase. Like, I'm not a big fan of boat chases, but this one was interesting enough. They did really get a lot out of the budget. This movie cost about $7.8 million to make, and it's sad that nowadays to get something of this caliber, it's like 5 times that. Sure, inflation, but in general, I think we really did take this era of film for granted, because, like, I'm watching a poor adaptation of a game I don't really like that much, and I'm enjoying myself. And a little piece of trivia, the cops were apparently called like 21 times for this scene because people thought an actual high-speed boat chase with explosions was happening. Let's go back to Robert Patrick as the villain. Koga Shuko is just so cheesy. Like, Robert Patrick is on an all-scenery diet here. He's not chewing on it, he's just devouring it.
I just want total domination of one major American city! Is that too much to ask for? Is it? Huh?
And fuck it, he's good. I often forget he's good at playing actual characters because I usually associate him with the T-1000, which he was great as, but it didn't let him go bonkers with the acting. And believe me, he goes bonkers with the acting in this movie. I love the little touch that no matter what he's doing, even if he's coming out of his non-solid form, he's just always got that cigarette going. There's a lot of little, like, things they introduced to the movie that I think are just, like, it seems like there was a lot of hands on the script, like, adding stuff. Like, Power Corps, for example, isn't just a vigilante group. It's all young people and the new generation, and Alyssa Milano has, like, it set up like one of those places you go for some kid's birthday party in the 90s where she takes care of all the orphan kids as well. And then she's, like, feeding a Bobo all spinach as, like, an interrogation tactic, which leads to a fart joke. Fart and diarrhea joke, yeah, okay.
Maybe another week of my special spinach diet will help you to remember. Spinach is supposed to be very good for the
Honestly, the script here is just screaming that it was like a script made for kids who grew up in the 80s and were probably like preteens or teens in the 90s. Because the way Alyssa Milano describes a Bobo, she references the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
A Bobo?
I don't remember a Bobo being there.
No, you wouldn't. He's as big as a house. Shuko did some sort of experiment on him. He looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
As if the Ghostbusters would have such a pop culture footprint that it would still be referenced by kids in the 2000s. I'm not bashing the longevity of Ghostbusters, it's a classic film, and obviously they couldn't reference something more current because, yes, this takes place in 2007, but it was made in 1992, but if this was realistic, we probably would have described a Bobo as looking like Don Vito or something.
All right, Vito, you got two options. You want the soup of the day or do you want the soup du jour?
It's the same fucking thing.
So now, like, the Marion character becomes kind of like a third protagonist, and she teams up with the Lee brothers to get Robert Patrick. And there's a lot of focus on Alyssa Milano's ass, so I'm gonna just refer to Wikipedia to do some math here, and yeah, okay, she's 22, so yeah, fair, she looks good in short shorts. Damn, girl. That's the trade-off here, like, she's not being a damsel, she gets to be like a strong, protagonistic character, but they were sticking her in some tight-ass short shorts and getting as many ass, crotch, and leg shots as they could possibly get. That's what progress was in the 90s. The last act, it feels like they're just kind of going through it and trying to get to the end. Like, Alyssa Milano's dad meets with Robert Patrick, who tries to bribe him, but he doesn't go for it. We get another action scene, and we get a cool scene where Robert Patrick uses his possession ability from the medallion to, like, inhabit the bodies of these dead people who have been buffed out. It's kind of a false climax, but it's a cool false climax at least. And they fake out Jimmy being killed while Alyssa Milano uses her Hackerman skills to get all the gangs fucking fighting against each other. They're stuffing a lot into this. I can see why the pacing was kind of criticized here. Oh, and yeah, spoilers, Jimmy isn't dead. They literally just faked that out for 5 seconds before showing him with Shuko. Before, with no real foreshadowing, Shuko reveals he killed Bimmy and Jimmy's dad. I mean, I guess there was a little bit of foreshadowing with the scene with Satori earlier. It was kind of dumb. Like, there was already kind of the personal thing here where he killed Satori, but then it's like even like double it's personal because he killed their father. And this never comes up again. Like, there's no point where it's like, you know, they avenge their dad and they're verbal about it. So it's just, I don't know where this came from, to be completely honest. And we get yet another action scene, but this is like the final action sequence, and it makes use of the cool sets in the Power Core hideout. I appreciate this, even if the rest of the movie is pretty thin. It's good to see that the mailman didn't fucking die jumping off like 4 stories of a tower. There's a lot of people getting thrown into Nickelodeon water, some dumb slapstick action, but again, I'm gonna give it points for creativity because there's no bad action scenes in it. They're choreographed well, they make use of the sets, and every, like, normal character does get something to do.
Now who's the boss?
Boo, get the fuck out of here. And of course, Robert Patrick possesses Jimmy. There's an I know you're in there kind of fight in which an actual double dragon machine appears and gets kicked. I wonder how many of the kids showing up to the Power Core hideout asked if they had a Street Fighter 2 machine instead. And honestly, I know it probably would have been a rights thing, but it would have been pretty neat if they had like the T2 light gun game in there, but that's just me being dumb. I do like the moral of the story here. Like, the whole movie, like, Billy and Jimmy are trying to figure out how to use the medallion, how to get the power out of it, and the key to it is just Billy deciding he doesn't care anymore and that he doesn't need it. He throws it away and it chooses him. So it's kind of the Vegeta equation to gaining power. And I feel bad for Mark Dacascos, like, having to sell his ass off for Scott Wolf, considering he's the martial artist and Wolf is the actor, but yeah, you know where it's going. He's obviously going to save Jimmy at the cost of the medallion.
Oh, you said it.
Which then turns Robert Patrick into 2 guys in blackface, and that's disappointing. And I didn't mention, they build up that Robert Patrick is weak to, like, light.
Better than that. Not until I have my shades on.
And when the power goes back on, that allows the brothers to get the medallion back. And we finally get game-accurate costumes. So the medallion gives you superpowers, and it gives you a solid Double Dragon cosplay, and spawns the spirit of the dearly deceased Hot Wasian mentor lady from earlier.
Oh, shit. You said it.
Oh, and apparently Jimmy can do the possession thing too, and they have some fun with Robert Patrick before he gets arrested. And Bobo is a good guy now, and he leaves with the group, and the two Asian henchmen are now unemployed and trying to hitchhike, which means they're trying to suck dick for food money. And the cops are back on night shift. I'm guessing a lot of the cop subplot got cut out of this, because like there's maybe a few scenes where it's like they're trying to get back into control of it, but it's just not. It's there. I don't know why it's there. I guess because Alyssa Milano's dad's the cop. I don't know. It's dumb. All in all, while this is far from a good movie, it's at least a fun movie. It's got a lot of cool action scenes, some cool looking set designs, stunts, and nobody really puts on a bad performance. It just raises the question, what the fuck does this have to do with Double Dragon? I mean, if any video game adaptation was gonna get away with creative liberties like this, it's probably gonna be Double Dragon, because really it's not a lore-heavy property. They take the idea, they take the characters, and then they get the dystopia thing, which was all the rage at the time.
This water's gross. Oh, should have a seat and a lid over it. And if it gets in your mouth, you get diarrhea for a week and all your hair falls out.
And you know, it's competent. I can't even really say it's like bad in a traditional sense. Robert Patrick himself admitted the movie didn't work, but he was still proud of his performance because he got to mix being funny with being menacing, and he does do a good job of that. He's easily the highlight of the film, but the Lee brothers are enjoyable protagonists as well. And it's like mostly because Mark Dacascos and Scott Wolf, like they just kind of vibed on screen together. They made it work. It's like a buddy brother dynamic type thing, and of course Alyssa Milano is Alyssa Milano. She's the one who went on to do more big things after this. She's a solid actress. It's nice to see like a movie this early having a female lead and love interest not play the damsel. For years, like I had heard about how this was like one of the worst video game movies ever made, and how this was a bad movie, and how it's a piece of shit and like a poor adaptation. And while the last part is debatable to some degree, I guess I kind of see why this one falls under the radar though. It's mostly just chalked up to it's bad because like other people said it's bad, because I really don't think a lot of people watched this movie. It just, like I said, it's kind of just an afterthought. It's not quite poor enough as a movie to be notably bad, but it's not good enough where it stands out and somebody would be like, oh, that's actually not that bad. It's a fun action martial arts movie. It did manage to keep my attention for 90 minutes, and while it didn't do well at the box office, only making about like $4.2 million against its $7.8 million budget, I really don't think they expected it to do well, and as a result, it didn't really negatively affect anyone's careers. The director doesn't have a Wikipedia, but what if I were to tell you that the screenplay was written by Paul Dini, who would go on to create the DC animated universe and Batman the Animated Series, and that the script was written by Peter Gould, who worked on all 5 seasons of Breaking Bad. Yeah, that's a fucking interesting piece of trivia. Part of me wants to say this movie doesn't really deserve the reputation it has, but like, what reputation really? It doesn't have much of a reputation outside of people who just like kind of assume it's a bad movie because it did badly and it didn't adapt Double Dragon really that well. And of course, the opinions of the Nostalgia Critic and any other internet movie reviewers probably didn't do much good for it. But in all seriousness, if you do like 90s action slop and you skipped over this movie, I'd say give it a watch. It's pretty fun. It's not as noteworthy or even as good as the other 2 movies I'm going to be looking at as part of this series, but I enjoyed looking at Alyssa Milano's ass and crotch. I mean, the antics of Billy and Jimmy Lee, and Robert Patrick's acting, and the world building and the set design and the action scenes, and looking at Alyssa Milano's ass and crotch, so you might too. It's a movie where I watched it, I enjoyed it, don't really have a lot bad to say about it because, you know, it is what it is. I wrote a video on it, probably not gonna watch it again unless it shows up, like if somebody else is watching it, I'd probably sit down and watch it, but like, it left me feeling like pretty good. I wasn't unsatisfied with it, it delivered entertainment. It wasn't well received by critics because of course it wasn't. They tried to say that the younger kid actors were bad, which I really don't think they were. Like this wasn't the fucking Godfather. They weren't coming here to put out a blowout performance, and they competently acted their parts. I don't see what the complaints are there. Pacing-wise, yeah, okay, I can agree with that. The movie is very fast-paced, and it just seems like it's just trying to get to the next action scene, but it knows what it is. This isn't prestige cinema. This is a movie you and your dumb friends went to see in middle or high school. You talk about it, you enjoy it, and that's it. It's junk food cinema, but it's like the best kind of junk food cinema. It bombed, you know, I don't think there was really a lot of room for a sequel anyway, even if it didn't bomb. It was there and then it wasn't. Like, I don't know why this shows up on lists of worst video game movies, unless it's just because, like, there's only a certain amount of bad video game movies, and technically this falls under that category, but it's not terrible. It's enjoyable. I guess it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it was fun. It kind of captured the overall feel of, like, a beat-em-up game like Double Dragon with its presentation, but it's forgettable. Especially when you look at it in the grand scheme of what I'm doing with these videos. It's not Street Fighter, it's not Mortal Kombat, it's just Double Dragon, it's there, it happened. It's not even really like Mario, where it's just like, what the fuck was that? Like, I don't know, it's a weird movie to review. I liked it, though. I did enjoy it to some degree. It's just, like, I guess it's gonna just go back under the radar. Like, even if this video blows up and gets, like, 1 million viewers, nobody's gonna give it a second look. It is what it is. It happened. It's history. It's film history. Second ever. It can't even be the first ever video game adaptation. It's the second one. Fuck. What are your thoughts on the Double Dragon movie? Let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'm gonna be doing Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, like, sooner rather than later, because I guess I'm on a kick. I really have to go with what my brain wants me to do for, like, these videos, so it's like, that's where I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then it's like, you know, that's just not gonna happen. But, you know, I'm on the ball with this one. Maybe we'll have some fun here. If you like this video, hit that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe, share me with your friends, and I will see you next time.
Where's my secret weapon? Damn it, what you got? Okay, wait, we can't go. Why is my secret weapon now?